Hello, I'm Lavinia Wasserman. I work with the CCPR Center, and I have the pleasure to be here today with Professor Flinterman, who took the time to tell us about the first review by the United Nations Human Rights Committee of Turkey. So, Mr. Flinterman, what was your impression of this first review of Turkey? Were you satisfied with the response of the state?
Yes, it's always encouraging to have a state for the first time before the committee. In this particular case, Turkey had ratified the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in 2004, a long time ago, and it was only now, 8 years later, that we had the opportunity to hold Turkey as a state party accountable for its human rights policies and for its implementation of the obligations under the Covenant. Much too late, but still very important to have them there here in Geneva for the first time. And overall, I must say that there have been important, positive changes in the context of Turkey, and that I was also very pleased with the way in which the Turkish delegation, that was with the committee for 9 hours, 3 meetings of 3 hours, responded to our questions in a very open, in a very forthcoming manner. So the answer to your question is yes, indeed, I was satisfied.
And would you be able to tell us, lay out for us, the critical issues that that came up in the discussion and which would require further measures by the Turkish state?
In the context of the examination of an initial report of a state party, the committee makes it a point to highlight the relevance and significance of each and every article of the Covenant, starting with Article 2, the general article on the right to a remedy, and then all these substantive articles. And of course, in a country like Turkey, like in most other countries, there are still quite a few problems in relation to the full implementation and the full enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Let me give you a few examples of critical areas. Well, the first is that Turkey ratified the Covenant in 2003 with a number of reservations, and one of those reservations restricts the applicability of the Covenant to the territory of Turkey. And that means that that reservation amounts to a situation in which Turkey does not accept responsibility under the Covenant for situations in which Turkey exercises effective jurisdiction outside its own territory. And that's of course the rather sensitive, politically sensitive issue of Northern Cyprus. But also, of course, the people in Northern Cyprus are entitled to the full enjoyment, and Turkey should be held accountable for the policies of human rights also in the context of Northern Cyprus. So that's what is one of the critical areas, and we, of course, like in all other situations, we will call on Turkey to withdraw, to reconsider its reservations and to withdraw reservations. Another critical area is certainly the issue of consensus objection against military service. You know that in Turkey there is still a situation of compulsory military service, and those who, on the basis of their conscience, object to military service are not given the opportunity of serving in an alternative way their country. There is no alternative for military service, and that those people are prosecuted, quite often harassed, imprisoned, and that's also an issue of big concern to the committee. And again, there we will urge the Turkish state party, the government of Turkey, to reconsider its legislation in this field and to provide for alternative services for those who conscientiously object against military service. Those are two examples of areas. But then, of course, the issue of the protection of minorities According to Turkey's ratification of the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Turkey has made a declaration referring to the Treaty of Lausanne of 1923, in which it says that it does not recognize minorities within the Turkish state. But still, of course, there are such minorities. You can deny calling them minorities, but nevertheless they are there, such as the Kurds, the Roma and others. And they are entitled under the covenant to enjoy their own culture, to go to schools in their own language. And again, that's an issue where we urge the Turkish state to recognize the rights of persons belonging to such minorities, and also to consider the withdrawal of its reservation to Article 27. But as I said, in the framework of an initial report, we go through each and every article of the covenant and to see and to enter into a dialogue on the ways by which the state party has implemented its obligations. So under each and every article there are still a few issues of concern.
Thank you very much. This was a very thorough explanation. There's a lot to be said about Turkey since this was the very first review on maybe the NGO's role in the process.
Yes, indeed, and I'm very pleased that you're referring to that issue. I was very pleased to see the involvement of non-governmental organizations in the preparation of this first ever dialogue with Turkey as a state party to the covenant. For us, and I cannot underline it enough, it's so important not only to have the information in the form of a state report from the state party itself, but also to have alternative information from non-governmental organizations working on the ground, highlighting specific situations in which human rights are at stake, sometimes violated, and helping us in getting a true picture of the situation on the ground. And in that respect, I would like to express my great appreciation for the assistance of non-governmental organizations. And let me also emphasize how important the role of NGOs is also in relation to the implementation of our concluding observations. Of course, they are directed to the government, to the state party, principal to the government and parliament, but of course non-governmental organizations could see to it that those recommendations that have been given by the Human Rights Committee will be taken seriously by the government and will be followed up by the government. And that counts for all concluding observations, all recommendations, but in particular also those recommendations where we ask the state party to submit within 1 year a follow-up report. And we do count on also the non-governmental organizations to assist us further in our work.
Thank you very much for these very important comments. So we are waiting for the next review of Turkey, which is due in how many years?
We have asked Turkey to come back to the committee in 4 years' time, so that means in 2016, and I should add there, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Flinterman.